75 years after the World War II Battle of Iwo Jima, images captured on film during the bloody assault will be made public for the first time. Wednesday marks the anniversary of the day the U.S. Marine Corps and the Navy launched an offensive to take the island from the Japanese. Just 5 miles long, Iwo Jima had two airfields and was considered a potential stepping stone toward an invasion of Japan's main islands. Nearly 7,000 Americans died. It was the bloodiest fight in Marine Corps history. The attack lasted until March 26, 1945. Out of 20,000 Japanese defenders, just over 1,000 survived. The battle was immortalized in this photograph of Marines raising the American flag atop Mount Suribachi. It was captured by Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal. Now, thanks to a partnership between the History Division of the Marine Corps and the University of South Carolina, a large collection of footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima will be available in a digital archive. Greg Wilsbacher is the curator of newsfilm and military collections at the University of South Carolina, and he joins me now from Columbia, South Carolina. Welcome, Greg. Tell us about this partnership and what the mission of the project is.
Thank you for having me. The partnership with the University of South Carolina and the History Division is really twofold. We are working to continue access to those collections for the researchers that work at the History Division, but we're also preserving and digitizing the films to ensure that the general public can see them in a nice, robust, historically kind of a context that honors the historical nature of these films.
And why is this footage only being made public now?
The films have been available to researchers inside of the History Division, but motion picture film is difficult to work with. It's usually used to require projectors. You'd have to come on site, and the film would have to be put in a projector. And as the film ages, staff at the History Division understood that the films were getting fragile and that they needed special handling. Digitization, particularly mass digitization of this scale, we're talking about 18,000 cans of films that we're working with the History Division on, really enables this large collections like these to kind of come to the public for the first time.
Now, this was a heavily documented battle. Why did the Marine Corps think it was important to record the battle, and what kind of resources did they deploy to do that?
The military, the Marines, and the United States Army in World War II all saw combat photography as an important tool, an important weapon in order to win the fight. It had many roles to play. It helped with intelligence gathering. It enabled warfighters and planners from behind the scenes to see the condition of troops in the terrain that they might be on. But it also served a very important public relations purpose. So taking all those factors into consideration, the Marine Corps staffed out a large quantity of combat photographers. They called them, combat photographers, and they sent them into combat with 16mm color cameras for the most part. On Iwo Jima, we think there were about 26 Marine Corps photographers using 16mm cameras, operating over the 8 square miles of the island.
And was there a human toll of sending out those cameramen to capture the battle? Were those cameramen members of the military, or were they plucked to do this mission?
All members of combat camera in the Marine Corps are first and foremost Marines, so they're trained to be infantry Marines. During the fight, 3 combat camera soldiers, Marines, lost their lives. Bill Gnaust, who shot the famous color footage of the flag being raised on top of Iwo Jima, lost his life on the island later in the fight.
Very, very dangerous work for the cameraman as well then. So, Greg, in going through this footage, you saw some very moving images. Can you describe some of the scenes that stood out to you the most?
The material that's here, a lot of it is actually unusual, and it's not the kind of things that have been shown in documentaries before, not because it's graphic, but because it's actually footage of soldiers doing things necessarily off the front line. So there's a lot of documentation of medical battalions treating the wounded, and of the cemeteries being laid out, and the Marines who are coming to say goodbye to their friends who were killed just days or weeks before. And on an island like Iwo Jima, you take something like the 5th Division. Once they finished fighting on March 25th, 26th, they get on ships and they leave. And one of the last things that those units did was walk the cemeteries where all of their comrades were laid to rest temporarily. And I find that to be particularly moving. They're never coming back. This is unlike Europe. The Marines aren't going to plan for some post-war vacation to come to see where they were before. This is an island that they won't set foot on again, and they're all gathered to hear one last time.
Yeah, it is incredibly moving, for sure. And Greg, how will people be able to access this rich archive?
It's online at the website library.sc.edu/Marine Corps. Pretty simple. We have over 1,500 films online right now. We'll be adding more every week. Like I said, we have about 18,000 films to digitize as part of this partnership with the History Division.
All right. Well, Greg Wilsbacher, thank you so much for telling us about this fascinating footage that's now available to the public. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.